Hey everybody, it's Vespa. Welcome back to Resin Bell. Today is May the 4th. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you the last part of my build for the Star Wars Dollar Store Challenge put on by Dave White over at Whitey's Wicked Workshop. Go check out his channel and leave a like and a subscribe and tell him I sent you over. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you the last half of the build that I did for the challenge. So I'm going to be showing you this guy. This is a inspiration that I had for this build, and I saw this at Galaxy's Edge when I went last June, and I just loved the idea of a Worrt in an enclosure, you know, kind of like a pet. So I wanted to build this for a while, but then when Dave posted his challenge, I was like, yes, I'm all over it. This is my prompt. I'm going to do it. So this is inspired by that and by Dave's challenge. So without further ado, let's get into this and come back tomorrow for another awesome build that you have never seen before. So check it out. So our spend limit for this build was $15 as set forth from the challenge. So I started with this reptile enclosure that I found at the thrift store for $6.95. I spray painted it with the orange and gray to kind of give it that rebel look. And then I took the plexiglass lid from the front and I used a piece of scrap vinyl to create just a border to go around it. I cut it out with my X-Acto knife. I've just got to tape it down so that it won't shift when I try to put part of it down. And I've got a nice little border here. Just checking out to make sure that my Worrt fits in his enclosure, and he needed a little piece of styrofoam underneath him to kind of lift him up because that border was a little higher. Now I'm pulling out some greeblies and trying to decide what I'm going to use. So this piece came from my shop vac, and just deciding to put those together and put them on the side, and just all kinds of different little pieces. I'm trying to figure out where I want them to go, just to kind of make it look a little more in universe. So I picked up this at Walmart in the planting section, and this is just like one of those water trays that you can get for like, I think it was like 39 cents, and I love the texture on it. I thought that was kind of a cool texture, and then I thought, you know, I could layer it up with that. And these are just junk pieces that I've had. This is a napkin ring from the Dollar Tree that actually somehow perfectly exactly fit right in that hole. And then this is, I have no idea what this is, but it's some kind of doodad hickey majigger. Anyway, it fits perfectly, like actually perfectly into that it was meant to be. So I'm just gonna cut this. Okay, so I just took a piece of this plastic cup and I cut it out and slid it down into there, and then I sprayed painted over it so that there's just something back there, so it's not just completely open. And then I took a little bit of this silver rub and buff and just went over some of the edges just to kind of, you know, make it look a little more worn, and I still have to do some aging on it, you know, adding some dirt and grime and grease, and then this, I finished putting that together. spray painted that back piece and slid it in, and then I took a little bit of Resin buff around the edges just to kind of make it look like it was a little more worn. And I'm going to be adding some paint to that to kind of age it. I just spray painted it, and then I took some more Resin buff and I highlighted all the raised areas just to kind of give it a little more depth. And then I added these just scrap pieces of wood and then some scrap pieces of plexiglass and glued them on just so that's got a little bit more detail. And then once I get it weathered, I think it'll, you know, really kind of pop. Okay, now it's time for adding some grime and some, you know, details that make it look like it's been used in the Star Wars universe. So I'm just using some acrylic paint, some cheap acrylic craft paint to add some color here and there. I keep adding thin layers, dry brushing on some browns and some blacks to kind of give it those layers and, you know, make it look as realistic as possible. I just love how that little bit of color can make something pop. I love how all of this drips and like aging and dirt kind of came together to kind of tell a cohesive story between all these weird random parts. And I even brushed some acrylic paint on the front and back of the acrylic sheet at the front. It kind of makes it kind of grimy and looks cool. Okay, so I have been working on distressing and adding greeblies and all kinds of stuff on this. So now I've got to work on the inside. This is the last part that I have to do, and I'm going to be putting in some sand. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet. It's either going to be with glue or with resin, I'm not sure. But first I'm going to put down a layer of paint to kind of prepare my surface for the sand. So I've got this little styrofoam piece. I just need to add a base coat. This doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, it's going to be covered with sand, but I do need it to be fairly covered. Just using some cheap acrylic craft paint. And the very center doesn't have to be covered because that's where the wart will be sitting. Okay, so now I'm just going to paint this inside area where all of the sand is going to go. Any spots that just really look like brush strokes, and I can kind of scrub away some to make it look different. Gives it kind of a frosty, worn glass, dirty glass look. So yeah, I think I like that. So hopefully you can see the brown on the outside and then the lighter on the inside. Okay, so I think that because my sand is a little damp, it's been raining and it was outside and the container leaked a little water, so it's already a little damp, and resin doesn't like water. So I'm going to use this since I have lots of this extra glue. I'm just going to mix it up and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now that I got that glued in and I got this little breather hole filled in with hot glue and sand over the top, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start putting some sand in. See, this is the texture of it right now. It's kind of thick and floppy. Okay, now that that is on, on and it's still wet, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some sand on top. Okay, now I'm going to put my wort in there so that glue can adhere to him too. Okay, little wort, in you go. I'm kind of rocking him gently back and forth so that he can kind of be down into that sand as well. I think that's how I want him positioned. I might turn him just a little bit more. All right. I just gotta wait for that to dry and we're golden.